Good day, everyone. Welcome to the next session of our discussion in DEM 705 Strategic Management. We will be digging deeper into environmental scanning, and this is divided into three topics: the tools and techniques in environmental scanning, conducting SWOT analysis, and SWOT analysis of educational institutions. So I am Dr. Jennifer M. Star from DepEd Lucena City. First, let us define what environmental scanning is. In simple terms, it is the process of gathering and analyzing information about internal and external environment of an organization. So if we will be looking into the word cloud presented in our screen, we will be saying internal and external factors that could affect our organization, specifically the institution that we have in our workplace. It is somewhat also scrutinizing or having our study or a research wherein we have the gathering of information and then we analyze those gathered informations for us to arrive at the appropriate decision making. To further the slides, we have here the factors of environmental scanning. The first one is the internal factors. The other one is the external factors. So why do we need to conduct environmental scanning, and why it is important for our organization or institution to have one? First, to identify the internal factors. This could be the elements within the organization that directly impact its performance and operations. So we have the control over those factors. Then also to identify the external factors. So it is referring to the elements outside the organization that affect its management and operations. Those were the things that were beyond the control of the organizations. We have to conduct scanning to guide us in our strategic decision making, also be part of a competitive advantage for us to have a better resource allocation and identify risk management. So this is also part of strategic planning in relation to the topics being presented in the last sessions. There are different processes in environmental scanning. First, of course, when we scan, we analyze the environment to spot the factors that may impact the organization. Second, we gather the data and find out the trends and patterns in the environment. And the third, we estimate future events based on previously analyzed data. And the last, we assess those factors, whether they provide opportunities or threat. So this could assist us in decision making. What could affect the organization and what could help the organization in attaining its mission, vision, goals, and objectives, which is also related to the previous session. So these processes can be summarized into: the first one is scanning, the second one is monitoring, the third is forecasting, and the last is assessment. We can simply identify or remember those: SMFA: scanning, monitoring, forecasting, and assessment. We have different environmental scanning tools and techniques that had been used in helping us plan, implement, and decide if we are getting better with our institution. The first one listed here is the ETOP, followed by the Quest, followed by the PESEL, then stakeholder analysis, competitive analysis, and the last one, the SWOT analysis. So they will be discussed in details on the next slides. For the ETOP, it stands for Environment, Threat, and Opportunity Profile Analysis. This is considered as a useful device that facilitates an assessment of information related to the environment and in determining the relative significance of external environment, threats, and opportunities to systematically evaluate environmental scanning. So this one is a simpler form because we only focus on the threat and opportunity profile of the organization that we are in. So we divide the environment into sections, and it is solely based on the things that could affect. It's basing on the external factors, the things that could affect the organization externally. So now we will be digging deeper with the ETOP. The steps include dividing the environment into different sectors, followed by analyzing the impact of each sector on the organization. Third is subdividing each environmental factor into sub-factors for a comprehensive ETOP, and analyzing the impact of each sub-factor on the organization in the form of a statement. And last, preparing a summary to show the major factors for the sake of simplicity. So therefore, in other words, we only focus on the external factors. And what could be the impact of the threats and opportunities being forecasted out of the data presented in the functioning of the organization. So it is simply profiling of the environment that profiling of the factors that could affect the environment. And we try to simplify those into categories. So let's now proceed with the next. The next is the quick environmental scanning technique, or what we call as the Quest analysis. It is an environmental scanning technique that is designed to assist with organizational strategies by keeping adherence to change and its implication. We divide the environment into different sections, the same as the ETOP, to help us analyze the impact of the organization. The analysis is based on threats and opportunities as well. So here's the process in Quest. The process of environmental scanning starts with observation of the organization's events and trends by strategists. After observation, it is important that issues that may impact the organization are considered using environmental appraisal. A report is created by making a summary of these issues and their impact, And in the final step, planners who are responsible for deciding the feasibility of the proposed strategy review reports. So QUEST stands for Quick Environmental Scanning Technique Analysis, the QUEST analysis. The same as the ETOP, we start with gathering of data through observation, then we categorize as well on the impact it gives an organization. So is what we call as the appraisal. And then we summarize the report and tell the issues and the impact. And then we decide at the end if those impact would really affect and if the proposal is indeed feasible. So we need or we conduct necessary review for what's happening in the environment. Then we have the third one, the famous PESEL. It is analysis of the strategic planning tool used by businesses to identify and evaluate the external factors that can impact the operation. So it is divided into P is for political, E is for economic, S for social, T for technological, L is for legal, and E is for environmental. So this six factors is indeed more specified than the previous two, since we predetermined different factors and classified them already. So by understanding these forces, businesses or institutions can anticipate potential challenges and opportunities, develop proactive strategies, and make more informed decisions, since we look into 6 layers of scanning. So here on the next slide would be the continuation or the examples. For political, it could be a current tax policy, the Brexit, trade policies, political stability, government policy. So if your organization is facing such examples of challenges, it is under political. Then for economical, we have inflation rate, exchange rate, economic growth, interest rates, disposable income, unemployment rate. And for social, we have the lifestyle, the attitudes, cultural barriers, population growth, population age, health consciousness, and the target demographics. Something to do with social or the society and people. Then we have technological. Best examples include level of innovation, automation, technological awareness, cybersecurity, technological change, internet availability, or the speed. And for legal, example for this could be employment laws, discrimination, laws, health and safety, copyright protection, and consumer safety. Then for the last, we have environmental. Examples include the weather, the climate change, environmental policies, NGO pressure, recycling, pollution, and the sustainability. So I have remembered that when we are doing the risk management in SDO Lucena City, I am part of the risk management committee, and we had created the PESEL in our division, and we weight the intensity, which of those factors highly impact or highly affect the organization or the depth and functioning. So mostly, we had come up with technological and environmental due to the onset of pandemic before. In technological, are the schools under that necessity capable of implementing distance modalities such as online learning, we synchronous and asynchronous modality for the learners. Are the learners having enough technology, and are the teachers well equipped or trained to utilize those technological devices for distance learning? Then also, we developed a plan on how we could address environmental challenges, specifically in our F2F setting, as experience as well. There would be class disruptions due to typhoon, due to extreme heat conditions, flooding, and other disasters that could interfere the teaching and learning process in school. So those are the two greatest challenge that our division had faced since pandemic up to this new normal. Let's now continue with the steps. First, identify the scope of the analysis. Define the specific industry, market, or business or institution that the analysis will focus on. This will help narrow down the relevant factors to consider. Then we have the gathering of information, collect data from various sources, including industry reports, government publications, news articles, market research studies, competitor analysis, and expert opinion. So yes, we get information through those readily reliable sources. Then we categorize the information and we label them into PESEL categories in the third section. Then we analyze the factors. We evaluate the potential impact of each factor on the businesses or the institution and consider both positive and negative implications as well as short-term and long-term effects. After we categorize, we analyze. Then we identify opportunities and threats. Based on the analysis, we identify potential opportunities that the business can leverage and the threats that it needs to mitigate. So those are the, as you can see, as you can remember, we mainly focus on the opportunities and the threats because those are the things that could hamper the operation of every organization. So once they are already identified, we develop strategies. We formulate strategies to capitalize on opportunities and address threats. The strategies should be aligned with the business or the organization's overall goals and objective. And for the last step, the seventh step, we monitor and update by reviewing and updating the PESEL analysis to account for changes in the external environment. So this ensures that the strategies remain relevant and effective. We tend to monitor and identify which of all those factors highly impact the organization. That's why in my example a while ago, I had given you situations where identify that technological and environmental factors are the foremost challenge in our division. Now let's have another example of environmental scanning tools or techniques. So in stakeholder analysis, we identify and analyze the various groups of individuals who had an interest in the organization's activities. Who would be interested to dig deeper in our organization? So here we have the diagram on the influence power of stakeholder together with the interest of stakeholder in the diamond form. On the first column, we have meeting their needs. These are the stakeholders who engage and consult on specific interest area. They try to increase level of interest and aim to move into right-hand box. On the next quadrant, we have the key players. They are the one focusing efforts on this group. They involve in governance and decision-making bodies and engage and consult regularly. We also have the least important. This informed via general communication, newsletters, websites, mail shots, and aim to move into the right-hand box. And we also have the show consideration. They make use of interest through involvement in low-risk areas. They are being kept informed and consulted on interest area and potential supporter or goodwill ambassador being considered. So here, in stakeholder analysis, we categorize various groups or individuals based on their interest to be involved in the organization. It helps us understand the expectation, power, and potential influence, enabling the organization to build relationships, manage expectations, and address potential conflicts. So here's a detailed example of the steps in stakeholder analysis. We have stakeholder identification. For example, this is the company or the institution, i.e. the employee, the supplier, the customer, the unions, the politicians, the public, i.e. the banks, the shareholder, the owner, and the management. So here, who are the stakeholders? You can categorize them by first identifying, are they really an advocate or a supporter? Are they neutral? Are they critic or blocker in the organization? So we tend to assess on step 2 for this. Will they be supporting us? Will they be hindering us? Or will they be neutral? Or just being affected by others? So after we had grouped them in the third step, we tend to apply. So if we categorize them already, we can make such decisions according to this leveling. Who are the key players? Who are the ones we need to meet the needs? Who are the least important? And who are those showing consideration or we consider? So here, we can decide sino una natin inform, who can we consult in decision making, and more based on the interest they had vested in our institution. Examples of internal stakeholders: the faculty, the staff, the students, the alumni, and donors. And the sample of external stakeholders in local community, resident, businesses, government agency, environmental groups, and media who could provide for the organization. Yan. So what would be the task? You can ask them questions or you will be guided by this. For us to know their interests, you can ask, what are their concerns, expectations, and desired outcomes for the organization? For the power, how much influence do they have over the project success? May say ba sila sa mga decision making? Will they be the one to provide resources for the organization? Nasa kanila ba ang approval, for example? Then potential impact. How might their actions affect the project's progress? And schools can develop effective communication strategies by engaging them to address their concerns and build consensus. Then we have minimize potential conflicts by proactively addressing potential issues and negotiate solutions, and align projects goals with stakeholder expectation. Ensure the project benefits all key stakeholders, fostering support and collaboration. So what would be the bottom line? The bottom line here in the organization is we must have active engagement, collaboration, and we must be transparent of our plan so they can bestow, we can know what would be their interests, how they could help us, and how it could affect the functioning of the school. Let's now proceed with the next, the competitive analysis. It examines the strengths and weaknesses of competitors, their strategies, and their potential impact on the organization. So, in this type of scanning, we do not only look on ourselves as an organization. We have our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But in competitive analysis, we dig deeper on how the other organization is functioning. It helps us identify opportunities for differentiation, competitive advantage, and market share gains. In other words, we tend to compare others with our own programs, projects, and activities. So here's a sample of competitive matrix. You can list any factor that you can think of. Pwede yung mga features ng inyong company or ng organization or the things that you are offering. Well, anong meron sa iyong institution na wala sa iba? And what are those with your institution that is only unique to yours? At ano yung wala sa institution mo na meron sa iba? So those would be answered by the sample matrix. For example, your organization, then you list on another column, competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3, competitor 4, as many competitors you have in the organization. School 1, school 2, school 3, school 4, and more. What are the factors? Example, do you have low tuition fee, moderate tuition fee, or high tuition fee? You list, you gather information. For the quality, moderate or high. For the features, how many features do you have? Or how many programs do you offer in your institution? Are the services being offered in a fast way or in a slow manner? And how do you think the organization is communicating on its services? Are they using online, through phone, messenger, video, and more? So how they can communicate? We can also have the strengths. For example, your company has faster performance due to new technology. For weaknesses, the school is not advocating or using the pages to communicate, since most of the clients can see information online. So they are not posting a lot. For example, for the social media, what are the social media that they are utilizing, and how they deliver services. Matagal ba? Mabilis? And many more factors that you can utilize or you can list. Now, we will be having the second part of our discussion, that is conducting SWOT analysis. So I had divided or given this into the second part of the discussion, since SWOT analysis is part of the subtopic. But this is also another example of environmental SWOT. Let's first identify the definition. It is a strategic planning tool, and I know everybody is acquainted with the steps and what does SWOT stand for. The S is the strength, the W is the weakness, the O is the opportunity, and the T is for the threat. We divide it into two, the internal and the external factors. So, the strength of any organization is related to its core competencies. Example natin, efficient resources or technology or skills. It could be an advantage. Expertise is a strength as well. Strong customer relation, market leaders, product services, sound market image and reputation, smooth cash flows could be a strength. While weaknesses, it is the limitation of an organization related to scarcity of its resources or skill sets, staff, or capabilities that creates an adverse effect in its performance. So it could affect the performance. That's why out of the two internal factors, we have the strength, which is the helpful factor, and the weakness is the harmful factor. Example natin ng harmful or the weakness for productivity, for quality, low productivity, unrecognized name, or poor brand image. It could be. Now, the second part deals with the external environment or scanning or analysis, the L and the T. Opportunities are organizations' environment considered as the most favorable. So helpful din siya. These are circumstances that are external to the institution and can become advantage to the organization. So just like the strength, opportunity is also an advantage. So the difference lang in strength within, that's internal. While the opportunity is given by external factors. Example natin ng opportunity, social media marketing, mergers and acquisition, tapping new markets, expansion in international market or recognition, the new product development. Okay, then the last would be the threat. It is also a harmful external factor. So this is from the keyword current or unfavorable situation that may occur in its external environment. So example natin ng threats. New competitor, what else? So we have also what are the examples of threats? New competitor and those. Tingnan natin yung local list. Slow growth in the market, pwede. Changing customer preferences, increase in bargaining power, change in regulations, or more technical changes. Those are examples. And so, who would be the pioneer of SWOT? It is Albert Humphrey. He is credited with developing the and popularizing the 1960s while working at the Stanford Research Institute. So initially, he applied SWOT to Fortune 500 companies, analyzing their internal and external factors to identify competitive advantage and potential risks. So this would be the steps in SWOT analysis. Defining objectives, gathering resources, compiling ideas, refining findings, and developing the strategy. We remember Strengths and weaknesses are the internal factors, while the opportunities and threats are the external factors. Now we will have a more detailed example through this uh, SWOT analysis in educational institutions. So I have divided the examples into three parts dealing with three institutions, the Department of Education, the Commission on Higher Education, and the TESDA. So let's dig deeper. And we have here the SWOT analysis of the educational institution. But first, we can use this guide or questions for us to identify if they are in the internal factors or the external factors. For the strength, you can ask, what is our competitive advantage? What resources do we have? What outputs and services are performing well? Then for the weaknesses, where can we improve? What output and services are underperforming? Where are we lacking resources? And for the opportunities, what new technology can we use? Can we expand operations? What new segments can we test? And for the opportunities or the threats, for the threats, what regulations are changing? What are competitors doing? How are consumer trends changing? You can ask those questions. Then, let's now have the example. For the strengths of the Department of Education, large and established network. So DepEd boasts a vast network of public schools across country, providing access to education for a significant portion of the population. We know that DepEd is the largest organization in our country. For the next, experienced workforce, of course. DepEd has the large experienced workforce of teachers, administrators, and support staff dedicated to providing quality education. That's why we have the biggest share in the budget of the government. Then we have commitment to inclusive education. DepEd has a strong commitment to providing education for all, including students with disabilities, indigenous communities, and those from marginalized backgrounds. Then we have focus on teacher development. DepEd invests in training and professional development programs for each to enhance their skills and knowledge. That's the strength of DepEd. Since DepEd is a huge organization, there would be more manpower, there would be more training, and commitment is also strengthened. Now, let's have the weaknesses of the Department of Education. Yes, we have shortage in terms of teachers, though teachers are one of the most employed. Diba? There are lots of teachers in our country, but then still, since the schools are having lots of learners, there would be shortage following a certain ratio. Every 45 learners to the maximum, there would be one teacher assigned. So if enrollments are high, teacher would be in shortage. Actually, there are lots of teachers but the items are few. That could be a weakness as well. So inadequate infrastructure is also a weakness since we lack classrooms, laboratories, learning resources that could hinder our effective teaching and learning. And then, yes, there could be instances that not all schools are given access to technology. There are far-flung schools who are facing difficulties in accessing technology, specifically in rural areas or those in the hardship posts, impacting digital literacy and learning opportunities to the learner, and also bureaucratic processes. DepEd's bureaucratic processes can sometimes hinder the efficient implementation of programs, projects, and activity initiatives, and leading to delays because there are a lot of steps to follow, or a lot of governance level to satisfy first before coming up with an approval of a certain activity. So it could cause a potential delay. But for the opportunities, it could be there's a growing demand for online learning, right? So what are those? The increasing popularity of online learning presents an opportunity for DepEd to expand its reach and provide more flexible and accessible educational opportunities. So, growing demand for online learning. Focus on STEM education. There are a lot of schools now offering special program in science, technology, in mathematics. So these are growing demands for STEM. It's an opportunity to strengthen education programs and equip students with skills needed for their future careers. Then an opportunity would be uh, partnership with private sector. We can collaborate with private sector to leverage resources, expertise, and technology to enhance educational quality and provide more opportunities for students. Then, yes, we are integrating technology since there are lots of organizations sponsoring DepEd for us to have those limited access. Since naging weakness yung limited access, it could be also an opportunity if there would be partnerships or supporters or from outside stakeholders who could give or provide. It can support the integration of technology in the classroom, enhancing student engagement and learning outcomes. And last, for the Department of Education, yes, there would be instances in the public schools that we are having decline enrollments. Not all the time, but then it could be a trend. For example, one school or one private school has a lot of enrollees, but those in the public has few or has declined due to for quality, for classrooms, then others would say change of residence, others would drop, and more. It could be a threat to the Department of Education because if the enrollment would be declined, also the funding for us would also decline. Yeah. It's also part funding cuts. It could be a threat if there would be a small portion of budget given to the Department of Education, then everything would be affected. The funds would not be approved or it would be cut. Then we also have cybersecurity threats. There would be instances that data privacy and technological access would be violated. That's another. And then we also included this, there is the teacher burnout. In the teachers feel the difficulty and the problems due to lack of tasks accomplished. Then, for the SWOT analysis of a higher institution, specifically the Commission on Higher Education, the strengths of should include accreditation and quality assurance policy development and implementation, support for research and innovation, international partnership. And we also have the weaknesses, the limited funding, quality control challenges, lack of industry collaboration, limited international exposure. For the opportunities, we have the expansion of higher education access, development of specialized programs, internationalization of higher education, and the research and innovation in higher education. And for the threats, we have competition from private institutions, we have brain drain, outdated curriculum, and lack of public trust. Could be an example. And for the strengths, vocational training programs, no, it's for the test that. Vocational training programs, industry partnerships, national certification system, focus on employability. And for the weaknesses, limited training facilities, mismatch between skill and industry needs, limited job placement support, lack of awareness and access, opportunities, alignment with industry needs, development of emerging technologies, and promotion of entrepreneurship, global recognition of tests and certifications. When we have the skills mismatch or the threats, limited industry collaboration, technological disruption, and lack of funding. In terms of writing the case study, here the SWOT analysis of the Department of Education, Schools Division of Lucena City, from DepEd Lucena City. So the Department of Education, Schools Division of Lucena City is responsible for overseeing public education within the city. But it is not just public, but also private. So the case study examines DepEd Lucena City through a SWOT analysis, identifying its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to inform strategic planning and resource allocation. So this would be the methodology. The SWOT analysis is based on publicly available information, new reports, and general knowledge of the Philippine education system. A comprehensive analysis would require access to internal Lucena City data and stakeholder interview. So there are lots of sources of information as mentioned here. And if you were doing your SWOT analysis, it is better if you have your internal data. Example, the enrollment rate, the participation rate, the transition rate, dropout rate, and all other metric systems that could help us identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the respective institution that we are in. You can also ask interviews or feedback from the people, or specifically those the clients of the organization. Example natin, for the strength, established network of public schools in Lucena City, relatively high literacy rates in Lucena City, dedicated teachers and school staff, commitment to inclusive education, existing partnerships with local government units. For the weaknesses, limited resources compared to bigger division, uneven distribution of resources across schools, infrastructure challenges in some schools, teacher shortages in specific subject area or location, bureaucratic processes can hinder efficient program implementation. And for the opportunities, increased government funding for education, integration of technology in education, development of specialized programs, katulad nga po ng STEM, since there would be schools offering special programs like the house, the science curriculum, the SPED curriculum, the arts and journalism curriculum. And it strengthened partnerships with private sector and focus on teacher professional development, also given by private sectors. And for the threats, declining enrollment due to population shifts or migration, rise of private schools and alternative learning options, budget cuts, or funding inconsistencies, natural disasters disrupting school operations, and cybersecurity threats affecting data and online learning. For our analysis, Japan City benefits from established network of schools and generally high literacy rates. However, it faces challenges related to resource limitations, infrastructure deficiencies, and teacher shortages. Opportunities exist to leverage technological advancements, develop specialized programs, and strengthen partnerships. Threats include competition from private school, budget constraints, and potential disruptions from natural disasters. So based on SWOT analysis, the following strategic recommendations are proposed for the Edusena City. First, we must leverage the strengths, build partnerships with local government units to secure additional funding and resources. We have to address the weaknesses, advocate for increased government funding to address infrastructure deficiencies and teacher shortages, implement strategies to ensure equitable resource distribution across schools. And for science opportunities, we must invest in technology and teacher training to integrate technology effectively into curriculum and develop specialized programs in high demand fields, aligning local industry needs. Yes, it is something to do with exploring partnerships with private sector for resource sharing and mentorship programs. And we must mitigate the threats, develop contingency plans to address potential disruptions from natural disasters, implement strategies to attract and retain qualified teachers, enhance cybersecurity measures to protect sensitive data online, learning plans. So developing proactive communication strategy to address concerns and maintain public interest. So for the ways forward, our environmental scan can have a dynamic landscape presenting both significant challenges and exciting opportunities, while requires proactive adaptation, offers considerable potential for growth and innovation. So this would be the references, and thank you. That would be the end of the presentation. And always remember, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and never forget that after every night comes a great morning.